Be greater. Be yourself. Those are lines that they use when promoting the game. The game I'm talking about is Marvel's Spider-Man Miles Morales. This was one of the launch titles for the PlayStation 5, but it has a PlayStation 4 version that can be upgraded with a disk drive of the PlayStation 5, like Xbox's Smart Delivery solution. I bought this game the day it launched. I spent about a week or so finishing the game and then got the Platinum Trophy and let it be. My initial thoughts about the game were as follows. That the game is fun. It's unique for its own game, but it could have been an expansion to the original. Like a solid 8 out of 10, but not worth $70 on PlayStation 5. Why am I talking about it? Well, I wanted to look at the game from a different perspective. Looking at it as Miles being Spider-Man. To see his twist on life and how being Spider-Man fits into his world and not in Peter Parker's. Being himself and not someone else. The game starts with Miles on a subway train coming to his home in Harlem, picking up something for his mom. Then Peter sends him a text about the police transporting some inmates back to the raft, and thinks Spider-Man should keep an eye on it. We get the familiar Spider-Man swing for the first time and showing off how different Miles is from Peter within the first few minutes of the game. We learn later that one of the inmates is Rhino, and the convoys that were holding the inmates fell and broke apart. Peter is caught up fighting Rhino while Miles is fighting a bunch of grunts, showing off more of how inexperienced Miles is compared to Peter. During the fights, we go to only fighting Rhino, from going through the city, the mall, and then a chemical plant. We then get a small glimpse of Miles' venom powers towards the end of the Rhino section. Miles is able to generate bioelectricity from his body, and is able to use it in combat and for puzzles throughout the game. After the fight, Miles and Peter have a talk about how Miles feels that he messed up the whole day and feels he needs to be better and become better. Peter reassures Miles and tells him that he's been doing this for 8 years and has messed up plenty of times. It's nothing to be down about. Peter then tells Miles that he will be out of the country for a while with MJ, and Miles will be the only Spider-Man in the city. Peter then gives Miles a new suit for him to be Spider-Man while he's gone. This is the first 30 minutes of the game. In the beginning, we are shown that Miles has been doing this for a while and feels that he's not ready to become Spider-Man. In the first cutscene of the game, we can see Miles talking to a few artists in Harlem who made a Spider-Man mural, and Charlie asks, "Are you going to add the new Spider-Man too?" While the artist says, "The kid? Yeah, maybe. I don't know. The original's just my guy, you know?" And Miles says, "Yeah, I know." In that moment, you can kind of see that Miles feels that even some people don't think of him as Spider-Man, but a shadow. It's more apparent when other people ask where the other Spider-Man is when he's helping them.
What is going on?
Hey there. You needed some help? I'm Spider-Man, by the way.
Yeah, I know. Aaron Davis. I think somebody's messing with the sensors. I'm getting bad data from the main relay up top of Grand Central.
On my way.
Wait!
Yeah?
Where's the other Spider-Man?
In the beginning of the game, Miles is in Peter's shadow. You can even tell with the first new suit that we get that it looks like Peter. Same color scheme, just different look. Then we go to the bridge scene. This is a perfect chain of events for Miles, where the Underground, a group of people that want to take down Roxxon, who is led by the Tinker, goes to attack one of the rallies that Miles' mom is speaking at. The Underground's plan was to steal the chemical Newfoam from Roxxon and use it later. A small fight breaks out with Roxxon and the Underground in Harlem, so Miles goes to stop them. The fight then goes to the bridge across New York, where Miles swings as fast as he can. In the process, we learn that the Newfoam and Miles' bioelectricity don't mix and can cause an explosion. After learning about the deadly mixture, Miles then goes to save many people on the bridge, from diving into saving people from drowning, to pulling the bridge together to have people jump across, also to going out of his way to save someone that took the wrong step. This is perfect, in my opinion, for Miles' character. He doesn't think twice about saving anyone. He doesn't second guess himself. He does it because it's the right thing to do. He does that because it's the right thing Spider-Man would do. Towards the end of the conflict, his suit is ripped up, and Roxxon starts pointing their guns at Miles. Miles was able to get out of the conflict because of his newfound camouflage powers. But he felt that he could have done better. Felt that since he got his new powers, he could have done anything Spider-Man could do. Miles' best friend Genki looked at Miles and told him, "Whenever you're talking about Spider-Man, you mean the other one. You're Spider-Man. You can do this your way." Right there is when Miles decides to be greater, be himself. That is where we get a montage of them making a new suit, and Miles then dons the red and black suit that we're used to seeing. This is where the game gets better. Now you can play as Spider-Man, not some kid that hides in Spider-Man's shadow. You become Spider-Man with Miles. In the rest of the game, you see Miles helping out the city of New York, especially his home Harlem, in his own way. There's no, "Where's the other Spider-Man?" It's Spider-Man! You go on different side quests, stopping Roxxon factories, to taking down underground bases, and see Miles grow as Spider-Man. One of the strongest parts about this game is how it shows the progression of Miles as Spider-Man, showing someone that second-guesses themselves when fighting Rhino to someone that takes on waves of enemies and doesn't think about his own safety. Miles as a character has always been a different Spider-Man compared to Peter, in all kinds of different mediums. The two that really show Miles as a different Spider-Man is this game and Into the Spider-Verse. In that movie, we saw a bunch of Spider-Men teach Miles how to become Spider-Man, but tell him, what makes you different makes you Spider-Man. In this game, we see Miles become his own by doing what he thinks is right and not staying in someone else's shadow. In each medium, he becomes Spider-Man because he is different, not because he does the same thing. This is going into spoiler territory now. If there's anyone that still wants to explore this game, please go to this timestamp here for you not to get any more spoilers. Please experience the story for yourself if you can. In the game, we learn that the Tinkerer is Miles' old best friend, Finn. She is the one that gave the Underground all their weapons. Finn also had the idea of continuing her brother's plan of destroying the new film, because it also makes people extremely ill, just like her brother. But that plan becomes a revenge plan when Finn was going to use the new film to destroy the Roxxon building in Harlem. After Finn learns of Miles' secret identity, Miles learns that Roxxon tampered with the new film, so it's more dangerous than before. Miles confronts her while Roxxon and the Underground have a war in Harlem. It becomes just a friend versus friend final boss fight, where Miles is trying to tell Finn what happened to the new film, but she doesn't listen because she's blinded by anger and hatred because of Miles not telling her he's Spider-Man and what Roxxon did to her brother. It is once Finn sees the damage that is done that she finally understands what's going on and then sacrifices herself to save Harlem. Right after the conflict between Finn and Miles, Miles then falls down after the explosion. And at this moment, for the people of Harlem, they see that they have a Spider-Man. This point forward is now that everyone sees him as Spider-Man, along with Peter. Miles is Spider-Man. I could have talked about how this game is a much shorter experience than the first game. That this is about a 6 to 7 hour adventure. The combat is very similar to the last title, other than Miles using his new Venom powers to spice things up. How much this game on the base PS4 model makes my system scream from how much power and resources it's using. That is just as janky as the last game, or maybe even more. But that's not the point of this video. It's about Miles. It's like the quote, it's about the journey, not the destination. Miles Morales makes it very apparent. But the journey here is you growing with Miles, but the destination was always for him to become Spider-Man. This speaks to me on a personal level. I went into a job where my dad worked for a long time and still does at the time of this video. It was hard to deal with people saying, "You're so-and-so's son, aren't you?" I felt compared to him all the time when I was working, but I wanted to show how different I am from him and not a copy. But I became my own person and not just in my dad's shadow. It took a while, but now I'm compared to him less than when I started. And that's personally for me a huge plus. Think of this as the younger sibling going to the same high school as their older sibling. Having the teachers or older students see your last name and compare you to your sibling, and you try as hard as you can to make it about you and not about you in their shadow. This is a very relatable topic that people go through all the time, and Spider-Man is not above doing that. Spider-Man is the everyman character where everyone can be Spider-Man. Anyone can be Peter. Anyone can be Miles. For everyone that took the time to watch this video, I'm very thankful. When I started writing the script, it went from me typing out words on a page to me feeling a personal connection with Miles and comparing him to my life and putting myself in his shoes. And then this became just a little bit more for me. If you guys want to watch any more videos that I've made, check them out right here. They're on the screen right now. You're more than welcome to check them out. And remember, be greater and be yourself.